G'day guys, I was just joined by Jacob Warren after going undefeated running Corn Berzerkers at the Challengers Cup in Utah. He was absolutely dominating force representing Australia, and we talked about each one of his rounds in detail. So with that being said, let's get stuck into the video.
Exalted.
Alrighty, g'day Jacob. Thank you very much for your time and joining us today to talk about your recent success at the Challengers Cup running the World Eaters. I'm really excited to getting into your list and talking about the matchups and things like that. Did you want to maybe start us off by just a brief introduction about yourself and the clubs you're associated with, that sort of thing?
Man, well, obviously I want to say appreciate having me on. It's been a long time coming. So obviously I'm Jacob, up here in Queensland, associated with, I guess, Ethos Gaming, just a casual group of lads, like Eric, Alex, Terrace, and so on. Man, I'm keen to get stuck in, talk about the event.
Bunch of filthy casuals. For those who don't know, the players that he just name dropped are some of the most competitive players in Australia. So, but it's always the way that there's always those competitive people that also have that sort of casual gaming club, and they just sort of kick around, have some drinks, and just happen to have that raw talent on the table. So it's really exciting to have a conversation with some people from that club. So now you recently came back from the Challengers Cup, which I believe you and Eric and Terracin and it's a few others went to and placed first, and you ran the World Eaters. So that's really, really exciting and a really strong representation for Australia on that international stage. G'day guys, check out our merchandise at exalted40k.com, including sets of range rulers with 9, 6, 3, 2 and 1 inch faces, as well as 1 inch markings all the way along, making quick and accurate measurements a breeze. Rectangular blessings trackers for convenient record keeping, and chain axe blessing trackers for when merely taking records is not good enough. Dice and dice trays that in tandem ensure your rolls do not betray you like a certain someone on the killing fields of Scalathrax. Objective markers for an exalted gaming experience that are just begging to be drowned in the blood of friend or foe on the battlefield. Show your support for the channel and head over to exalted40k.com to equip yourself as an exalted wargamer today. Did you want to tell us a little bit about the event itself for those who are not familiar, and then we'll get stuck into your list and the matchups?
So, Challengers Cup, sort of their first lone one, they sort of split off here, held out at Utah, over in the US, obviously. And the event was run premium, nothing bad to say. Hyped up. The boys over there know how to hype it up to the max. Tables spaced out, everything was great, man. Nothing bad to say about the event. Kicker over there. Anyone wants to go, they're doing it again next year. They love the Aussies over there. We really push. If you've got a group of lads that want to travel, really recommend you boys.
So it's a 8-man teams format, correct?
Yeah, man.
And what's the terrain pack did they use? Did they use your standard WTC rulings, or did they have their own? Tell us a little bit about that side of the event.
Yeah, so they used sort of a mixture. So we had 3 WTC tables and 5 GW tables, which was a bit of a mess for us. Obviously, we didn't really play much of that. There's a lot to get used to. Yeah, man. In terms of the rule packet, so all the charging and the important stuff was WTC, and then sort of they kind of used an amalgamation throughout there of what they were going to do. Mission-wise, it was set up. Tables didn't change. It was GW and WTC. This is the tables you're playing, regardless of mission pack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. We were watching. We had a stream party where we had a bunch of people come over, and obviously you guys are over in the States, so we were here at 6 a.m. Popcorn in hand, and we were watching. We watched Jordan play his sisters into their knights, which was a really awesome game. But yeah, so really cool event. It's like a sort of a WTC, but instead of it being nation based, it's club based. Which is cool as well, because it allows you to sort of mix you don't necessarily have to run an entirely Australian team or an entirely American team. However, you guys did opt for a purely Australian team, which is really awesome to see that even when we have the opportunity to work with anybody from around the world, us Aussies still tend to sort of band together, which is really, really exciting. G'day guys, want to join us and become an Exalted Wargamer? Then check out our Patreon. Show your support for the free YouTube content with a monthly supporter subscription. Think of it like buying me a beer to say thanks, mate. Gain access to the Exalted community, including our Discord server where we discuss everything from tactics, strategy, list writing advice to memes, banter, and hobby updates. Join Team Exalted for more direct coaching and advice in preparation for upcoming events, and get tailored advice for key meta environments and matchups, or help working through some of the more challenging and complex aspects of Warhammer 40k. Or become part of the Exalted Inner Circle for access to private one-on-one coaching, including video calls and more, a dedicated coaching service aimed to provide mentorship and drive real improvement. Check out exalted40k.com for more information and become an Exalted Wargamer today. Do you want to maybe give us a breakdown of your list? So the units that you took and a little bit about why you took each unit?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I'll go through it from top to bottom. Our list was Khan, Juglord with Favored, Lord Invo, Slaughterbound with the Glaive. It was the meat was three lots of 20 Zerks, and 3 8-bound, 3 Exalted 8-bound, and the spawn. 2 units of Jackals.
Yeah, pretty simple list, but pretty solid. What was your thoughts on the sort of archetype? So you've obviously gone for that horde style Berzerker spam list. Was this a decision that you made based on the sort of tables, based on the expected opponents, or was it just something that you personally really gravitate towards?
Yeah, man. So I guess the main reason why we kind of pushed off to the Zerks, the horde. I've been playing the ACDC, like Renegade Raiders, for probably like the last 12 months before that. Leading into the event and like sort of up around WTC, sort of realized that the 70 plus Zerks list was just doing everything that list was doing, just better. So like all my greens, like I'm pushing like 13s to 15s before, and now it's 15s plus. All my small losses were just, it was just across the board, was just a better list.
Yeah, I find that the Berserker list is quite polarizing. Like those matchups where as soon as you're in front, you really run away with it, because if your opponent can't deal with those 60 Berserkers, you're going to dominate them on primary with all of the objective control, and you're going to damage them in ways that's very hard for them to sustain over a long period of time.
You'll find that like you can handle the first wave. We can get into that sort of a bit later in the video, right?
Yeah, for sure. So the Favored of Khorne, that stood out to me as an interesting choice. Was that just because you had some points floating, or was that something that you specifically wanted in the list?
No, that was just points.
Yeah,
I had an odd number of points left over, especially after like we were just chopping and changing with So with the event, the captains had a vote on whether or not to play the data slate, since it came in after the rules cutoff.
Yeah.
And it sort of just passed, which meant that we're frantically changing our lists on the Friday, and we're flying over there on the Monday.
Yeah.
Like,
Fair. No, I mean, it would have been one of those things where there would have been some people that would have completely overhauled their lists and run something completely different, because that data slate did change quite a lot. But it sounds like you did the smart thing and stick to what you know is good, what you've been practicing, what you've been playing, for a while, because often if you make that last minute pivot based on a data slate change or something like that, you end up with an unrefined, unpracticed list that your opponent just takes advantage of. So, yeah,
for sure.
I highly praise that.
The meat of the list stayed the same. We'd like sort of swapped out a couple of little things. The 8-bound in obviously was infinitely better with the update, and then we got left with the random 15 points. That's when the Favored jumped in.
Yeah. And did you ever have Forge Fiends, or were you ever spamming the spawn or anything like that? Like, was there anything in that data slate that you were like, oh crap, this is actually a really pivotal change to the list, or?
I guess the biggest thing was getting the 8-bound into the list. They ended up being monumental, I guess, over the weekend, just having that extra 2 to 3 units. Before that, we were running 70 with the Rhino and 2 solo mows, just like actions.
Yeah.
And with like the updates with the 8-bound being better, we just ended up making that big shift sort of that way. But keeping like the core of the list being the Jackals and then the 60 Zerks.
Yeah. I mean, that +1 to hit aura from the regular 8 bound
Man,
on those Zerkers is a hell of a drug. It really dials up that damage.
especially with the like all the buffs to the AdMech matchup. Like obviously
Yeah,
they got a lot better at clearing hordes, but then all of a sudden I ignore their neg 1 to hit, so I just run through the army pretty easily.
yeah. And having that, like, there's really no shooting in your list pretty much at all. But given the
Man.
what?
There's enough shooters, the plasma pistols.
Yeah, I mean, there
That's
is 5 plasma pistols in each one of those units. That's we actually had a game here last night where one of my mates was testing out a similar list for an upcoming teams tournament, and he turns over to me and he's like, "How many pistols are in this unit?" I'm like, "There's 5 plasma pistols and this many bolters." He's like, "5 plasma pistols!" He was like blown away. That was pretty funny.
coming clutch.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, no, that's really cool. So you played. It was a 5 round event, correct?
6 rounds.
6 rounds, and you went undefeated for all 6.
I went 5 wins and a draw. Yeah.
And a draw. Yeah, well, that's undefeated. Oh, I always claim that. You didn't lose. That's what matters. But yeah, so 6 rounds. Did you want to maybe give us the brief overview at first, and then we'll drill into each game? So, what were your 6 opponents?
I mean, 6 opponents, man. So game 1, I can't remember all their names.
Just
Unfortunately,
just the just the,
all
the
the
armies is fine. What I'll
first
do
one
is
was
I'll pull up their lists and stuff and put it on screen so people can deep dive into it if they want to.
so round 1 we had like shooty invasion nids.
Yep.
Game 2 was it was the Reaper's Wager, but it was Drukhari.
Yep.
Um, game 3 I'm pretty sure was Monster Mash Demons. We hit Votann, Blind Arms Guard, then last one was Recon Guard.
Okay, so a reasonable mix of factions there. You got some combat stuff, you've got some shooting stuff, you've got some mixed stuff. So really testing out the list in all these different environments. Did you want to maybe go through each list, each matchup, and just give us like 5 minutes on it? Maybe pull out a key takeaway from that matchup. A particular move that you did that you felt was really dominant in the game, or a particular situation. I don't expect you to recall the entire game.
Yeah, so obviously there's a few rounds. Like the big rounds are obviously pretty in my head.
Yeah.
I'll do my best. Game 1 into the invasion, and like it's really hard. So he didn't have so he had 2 rupture hexes. I'm pretty sure it was 2 exocrines and a Malateptor, and then just small bugs. So obviously without like the flames in that list, it's pretty problematic for him to actually chew through the Zerks.
Yeah.
And then obviously the exalted 8 bound and the glaive just got the bugs, pretty well. So sort of, I guess, in that game, he's made the mistake where he's led with these small bugs. Instead of shoving the T-Fexes down my throat, they require an actual response from me. And it just kind of snowballed for him from there. Like, got into the bugs, was able to then pop with the 6-inch console, touch a bunch of these big shooting platforms.
Yeah.
And like, I'm really unfortunate from that point. Right, it just kind of
It's
snowballs pretty hard. No
kind of
fallback and
game
shoot.
over from there.
Yeah. Into the Drukhari was sort of a misread on the board state from my deployment on his point of view. I've in case he decided to get really aggressive and shove me turn 1, because we were playing Search and Destroy.
Yep.
I've deployed unit of Berzerkers pretty aggressively on my deployment line, but then I've weaved in between a unit of Jackals and fanned them to the front. So if he charges, hits the Jackals, can't declare the Zerks, I can heroic through.
Yeah.
I only get like 4 models fighting me. But he hasn't seen this, and he's gone for the jail play with both Beast Packs, AE and the Scourge. My turn, I shot through green, did the charge, the Jackals in, pipe his fight first. He obviously didn't know was there. And then charged both Zerks into the other Beast Packs, rather than pile in 6. The Archon's unit with fight first and wipe half his army sort of turn.
Yeah.
And after that, it's Trezar and 5 guys and Lilith with 5 witches. It's just not enough to pick up 60 Zerks after that.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid matchup for you. Did you turn the fights on death on?
Yeah. So turn 1, I went fight on death and pile console 6 in case I needed it. going second in that matchup. I mean, I don't think it really matters. Ryan is obviously a big-time Drukhari player. Sort of spoke about that pre-match, and he was telling me, like, my floor in that is probably a 15.
Yeah. So, yeah, as soon as you put the fight on death on, I find that in all forms of Eldar matchup, because they're so squishy, when they charge in, yeah, they're going to kill a bunch of your guys, but they're almost always going to commit suicide on the way in. And then you're killing them in your turn and their turn, back and forth, and it's just they just run out of stuff so fast.
I guess the only thing in that matchup that can get like hairy is if the incubi, if he's got 10 incubi with Draz, they charge in. If you fail the battle shock on the charge, you obviously can't neg 1 damage.
Yeah.
Then you just lose the whole score.
Yeah, you do.
Like that becomes problematic. Otherwise, it seems to be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
There, man, we hit the Monster Mash Demons, which is just like your staple demons list, right? Like Berzerkers, Guo, Roddy, Garbrandt, and I think it was Lord of Change.
Yep.
And a bunch of like small stuff. So that one, it was obviously attached the Slaughterbound to the Exalted unit to allow me to one tap a big guy. Sort of threatened to push wide. I left him. We're playing Crucible. I'm pretty sure it was Crucible on that one. I left him a pocket in like my deployment zone, my back left corner, for him to 6-inch drop. And he's taken the bait, dropped Berzerkers to Strat, and dropped in the Lord of Change. And he's tried to push wide on the other side with Scarbrand. He's like sort of charged in, I've heroicked, neg 1 damage, and then that turn on my next hit back picked up 4 demons.
Oof.
Yeah, man, like I guess 4 of my games were done in like 40 minutes.
Yeah. It sounds like in that one you were able to pull off a divide and conquer by baiting him. One of the things I always find with those big monsters is if they're all clumped together, it can be kind of hard to chew through them all because they block each other, they're heroic for each other. You get sort of traffic jammed where you're trying to get all your stuff into that space. But by leaving that hole behind him, he's then dropped behind you and you're like, cool, now one unit can go back and kill those, while another unit goes over there and kills those, and sort of frees you up a little bit.
So it was pretty interesting with that. Like, so I've allowed him to go wide, like let him just the right space. But like, I left him enough room in front of me to ingress Scarbrand.
Yep.
He's done that. Moved forward. I've ingressed Lord Inverse unit. And when he's gone in for the charge, hit the first unit with like the Great Unclean One, heroic through. I like went up to heroic. I've created a fan out in front. So Scarbrand can only hit the first unit. Pop neg 1 damage. Killed the Guo out of combat. Scarbrand does nothing. Next turn, I'm allowed to charge in with Lord Inverse unit. And yeah, it's just... So instead of him being able to hit both, he just gets to touch one. And both of those units at neg 1 damage kills nothing.
Yeah, nice. Did you kill the Great Unclean One with the 8-bound and Slaughterbound unit?
I went into Rodriguez instead. So the Great Unclean One was sort of like off to the side behind the ruin. Kind of moved, blocked in with Jackals and stuff, and then I was able to get Roddy, Scarbrand, Berzerkers, and then I'm pretty sure I put Lord of Change down to like a wound or 2.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because that's the one thing I've been running the numbers on the new Exalted 8-bound with that Slaughterbound, just thinking, is there any monster or vehicle that they don't just instantly one-tap? And the toughest thing that I found, the thing that they get the closest to failing at, is that Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift. They kill him about 55% of the time. So, like, they don't always do it. If you put Sustain and Lethals on, that really pushes your chances up, of course. But yeah, that's the closest I've got to something that they'll struggle to kill. Everything else, they just run through.
Yeah, man, they just absolute cleave. Yeah. Although they did bounce. I put him into I think it was game 5. I'll get there in a second. Right? So after this, we had the big round.
G'day guys, let's take a second to thank today's sponsor Adept Roll, a bloody ripper app that calculates expected outcomes across a variety of in-game scenarios with precision. With Adept Roll, you can input or import unit profiles to calculate probabilities of outcomes and apply modifiers both offensively and defensively within seconds, allowing you to make wiser and more informed decisions when writing lists and when making in-game decisions. Adept Roll is free to use, or grab the paid version, which is an inexpensive and packed full of fair dinkum features that will help you play like an exalted wargamer today. Thanks again to Adept Roll for sponsoring the video, and now let's get back to the show.
We hit Art of War.
Yep.
I went into Iron Jones on the Votann, which arguably I think. I mean, we both had different opinions. I think it's a great game for me, or at least a good game for me. He thought the other way.
Yep.
Got it on the best mission for us possible, which was hidden supplies. So, but with that, it was it was going to be probably close to what I predicted. Pushing through the game, and the biggest play of that game was if to send a unit 8 bound up to kill some Jaegers. I think it was 5 Jaegers on the objective. Just kill them and then console back behind the wall. So he's got to commit to shoot me.
Yep.
Next turn, he spins the bikes up, shifts the bikes in one of those little transports over, shoots into me, kills the 8 bound down to 1 model, and sort of panicking because I'm scoring 15 primary and denying his secondary.
Yeah.
So he charges in for the tech shock. It allows me the heroic Lord Invo because he can charge 3 crates.
Yeah.
The heroic Lord Invo through the crate with 20 Zerks. Yeah.
So now you still get your 15, you're still denying his secondary, 15, and you've taken out all these extra pieces in the process.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Get a 15, not a 10. Deny his cleanse. Deny his tempting target. Kill 5 Jaegers. I kill a transport. Then my next turn, I can push through, kill the bikes. And I tagged about 4 other units with that. Yeah, it's a stun. Yeah, and then he's like, sort of pinned in his back corner.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that sounds like it's a pretty consistent theme here. But like, if people make one mistake, you make one mistake, and they let that 20-man Berserker unit get somewhere where it shouldn't be, and all of a sudden you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
And something as simple as just under-rolling on your shooting, or maybe just under-committing on your shooting, and then all of a sudden you're forced into this position where you're making a decision that wasn't part of your initial plan, which is to charge something, and then the wheels truly come off. And that can happen. If that happens in turn 1, it's a very hard, hole to dig yourself out of. So
one of the things you sort of find with the list is we'll shove like 40 Zerks in someone's throat. Like they can deal with 30, or maybe even close to the 40. Then it's that last unit, right? Like you're dropping down Lord Invocatus behind.
Yeah.
You make sure you turn on the 6-inch console, you go super deep, create yourself enough space where you can ingress behind. And at that point, it's like, yeah, cool, they've exposed half their army or 3/4 to pick up these Zerks, and then they've got nothing left to deal with the last 20 that comes over and just kind of shuts the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and with enough CP behind them and the right blessings, that one unit of 20 Berserkers can do an ungodly amount of damage.
That's God's work.
Yeah.
It goes hard.
Yeah.
This is sort of what happened in 5. Hit the Combined Arms Guard. So just like your standard list. Votann, Vanquishers, bunch of Guardsmen, Orcs, Cassigan and stuff. Got first turn. I found that over there, a lot of their guys had one mindset, which was shove aggressively and try and jail the Zerks.
Okay.
Like he pushed Scout Sentinels, like a Taurox, double Cassican, Gaunt's Ghost, and just stood in a line in front of my deployment zone.
Yep.
I was like, well, you can't move. Like looking at it, and in this, I've just gone, cool. I'm just going to charge 1 unit of Jackals into Gaunt's Ghost. Charge my entire army to both the Cassican on the sides. Picked it all up. Had 6-inch pile console. Proceeded to wrap Gaunt's Ghost. Put his Zerks, unit to 8 bound, unit to Jackals. Unit can't now fall back.
Yeah.
His turn, killed him. So he can't do anything. And then my whole army's in the mid-table. I just picked up. Like, we were sort of there talking about it afterwards. And we're like, man, if I kill 2 Dawns this turn, it's over. I killed 2 Dawns next turn.
Well, that's one of the other hidden strengths of the 20-man Berserker units that people don't fully appreciate, is that because there's so many models, you can actually wrap around something to the point where they can't even desperate escape, because there's nowhere for them to place the model, because you've just filled the space with Berserker bodies. And now you get to do that sort of old school 8th edition pinning trick where you've gone, nope, you actually can't fall back, which means you can't shoot me at all. And that can, especially for a combined arms style list that wants to do at least most of its damage in shooting, they're going to hate that.
It's pretty much what happened, right? Like, it's super easy to pull off as well throughout. The charge wide, use the extra 12 inches of movement that you get with the pile console, and you can touch anything you want.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it was pretty hilarious. So like, he saw me do it, and as we were going through the motions, he like the light bulb clicked.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, this is real bad.
You gotta love it when they like, as you start doing something, the first look on their face is like a confused look, and then they've got this like look like what is this idiot doing, like almost a dismissive look, and then you see the light bulb moment where they realize that they fucked up, and you're like, yeah, there you go.
I walked out 40 Zerks in front of 2 Dawn in the open, and he's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna charge tackles in, and he's like, it just clicked at that point. He's like,
yeah, that's awesome. And then what was the last game?
Yeah, man. So the last game, arguably the game of the event for myself. Went to Wesley St. Hines, like the winner of LVO this year, on his recon card. The same list he took. Only guy at the event to take points off me. Absolute monster of a player, man. It was a great game. We went so we had 4-hour rounds over there.
Yep.
So it went the full 4 hours. You know? I think I got like a 1-point singles loss or something, but it was like it ended up as a 10-10. That game, man, was just a little bit of misinformation on my side. I wasn't quite fully aware of what the army could do, sort of strat wise. And the flap 6 reactive next to the charge is pretty big. I'm forever sitting at a 9-inch charge, and it was just a few swing downs on my end where I sent in 2 spawn with lethal sustain, didn't kill 10 guardsmen. Dressed back, took the point off, scored no primary. Next turn, I sent Borderbound into the same unit, same. You know, happens sometimes, but like nothing away from Wisdom. He played that game pitch perfect. He didn't make a mistake, and it was just went through rounds. Man, he just ended up playing it like a madman. Went to a 10.
Yeah, I think one of the things about when you've got those 4-hour rounds, one of the things I always try to do, because I've got the TO access on the app, so I have every book. And every time I get paired into somebody, even if I know their book relatively well, I'll still pull it up and look at every one of their strats. Takes you an extra 5 minutes. And the amount of times that I've gone, I forgot they could do that. Thank God I looked that up, because that would have been a huge problem. But it can be tempting to sort of, you know, especially if you've played it before, you're like, yeah, I got a pretty good idea of what's going on, or maybe you ask your opponent, can you run me through it? And they give you a pretty good overview. But sometimes it's that one thing that you miss, like a reactive move that you forgot about, or a negative charge that you didn't plan for, and that can make all of the difference. But especially when they're in the hands of such a masterful player.
He's a monster, man.
Yeah,
like absolute monster. The downside to that matchup for us was we had it then as like a decent win, or like a good win for me.
Yeah.
Going into it, and we had Brody Middleton on the team, who's knows a bit about guard. We'll sort of chatting to him a bit about what the army can do, what we think it is, what we think the matchup's like, and it's been pretty good. And it was just so therefore in our pairing side of it, we had it as a bit of a bigger win than maybe it could have been. Especially not being able to practice any games into it. Like I just went in, just raw dogging it, just like this is what this does. 60 Zerk should kill 200 guardsmen pretty well.
Yeah.
It's obviously if I play it once or twice, maybe I get a 12. Maybe I don't, and we then ignore the matchup and we pair differently.
Yeah.
We're 1 point off to win that round, so we ended up drawing that round. That's obviously their going out of his way in pairings to get me that matchup, where if the data's a bit different, maybe I play something else. You know?
Yeah. That's one of the really interesting things in teams events is like, because you have communicated with your team what your expected score is before the game starts, it can be quite anxiety producing when you start realizing that you're not going to achieve it. And then you get your coach come along and tell you like, you know, it's looking like a really close round, and you're like, I was predicting a 15 and I'm struggling to get a 10. And you sort of feel like, you know, you're potentially jeopardizing the team. Did you have that sort of experience, or what was your sort of emotional experience throughout the event?
Throughout the other 5 rounds, it was, you know, predicting 15s, maybe 16s or 14s or whatever it is, you know, I'm just getting 20s.
Yeah.
So, like that was like I was right on the high the whole way. In that round, obviously, a bit of pressure kicked in when I realized that, man, this is probably going to be close to a 10. If I make a mistake, I'm in a losing position here.
Yeah.
Obviously we had two great coaches there. We had Kirby, um, Dave Kerr from up here, our coaches, and they just went around reassuring everyone, sort of being like, what are you predicting now? Cool, just get that, like no pressure, so no outside noise of what anyone else is getting. Of course, the push, just like it's a number, we'll stick to that. It doesn't matter if I told them a 6. There's no expression doesn't change. So they did a really good job on sort of keeping me level. There was a period during that game where it was like bottom of turn 3. I sort of stood back from the table, put clock on me, just walked away for 10 minutes, just relax, chill for a bit, pull my head out, get some fresh air, then come back in and just kind of play, because it was like that round was to the wire.
That's a super important thing for people to do. Like, even in singles games, the amount of times that you'll see, like, towards the top tables, I know you get a lot less time in singles, so it can be a little bit harder, but just giving yourself that time to have a breather, and just emotionally center yourself, because I see a lot of people make mistakes because they're frazzled, they get under the heat of the situation, and it's like the 5 seconds that 5 minutes or whatever that you would have taken to take a break is going to save you more time trying to correct mistakes that you've made. So it's really good to see that you knew yourself well enough to know that it's time to just take a breather and get stuck into the game that way. And it sounds like you probably went into that game pretty pumped up, because you just haven't dropped a point all event and you've just been 20ing people left, right, and center. So you probably went in there with pretty high spirits. So that can be an entirely different thing. Whereas if in the previous rounds, if you'd started dropping the ball earlier, sometimes you can get that it can sort of run away with it. Was your team utilizing the World Eaters as like an early put up, or were you attacking people? How were you sort of wielding the World Eaters?
I don't think I got put up once.
Okay.
Pretty sure, just from memory, I'm just used. So the idea is that it's just trying to attack, right? So if they put up anything that I'm good into, it's gonna throw me at it and just keep throwing me at it. Or they're gonna use it for the other end, where like we'll attack with other things and then keep me in the hand. So the back end of pairings, like a list like the 60 Zerks, if that falls into the scrum and you don't have an answer for it, like it's real bad.
Yeah.
That kind of happened a couple of times as well, where like I fell into the back end of it, and that's like they're knowing that I've still got this list, but got no answers now. It's like that's just handing them a big score.
Yeah. Yeah, the World Eaters can be quite the pairings bully as well. Like, if they know that you have the World Eaters, they won't put up certain things, because they're like, well, if they attack me with World Eaters, I'm in a lot of trouble. So it can sort of do a lot of psychological work during that pairings process, which means not only did you provide immense utility to your team in the scores that you achieve, but also in the pairings process, there would have been a lot of utility for that list as well.
So it's like into the Art of War round is a good example. So what's the second or third put up? Maybe the third put up. They put up the AdMech. Like, say they put up Richard Siegler on his AdMech.
Yeah.
I handed them myself, and then just McGowan on 3 Warrior Crons, and they were forced to take the Crons.
Yeah.
It's like we thought that was probably a good game for us. It didn't happen. That flipped the other way. If he takes the Zerks, he gets like we were fairly confident that he gets run through.
Yeah.
But they reject that, and then in the back end of the pairings, they're left with like 3 lists that probably can't deal with it, and 1 that's a game. So like they would have bullied the back end. Like, they can't have me fall into the elder, because that's just the 20. I mean, Nick Nunavite is a great player, but the list does what it does.
Yeah.
And we sort of end up where we were, where I end up falling into the Votann. I don't have the guns to deal with it.
Yeah, hell yeah. So was there a particular favorite game? I know you mentioned that final game was your closest, your tightest game, but was there any particular round where you were like, this is just a really enjoyable game of 40k, or was there any highlighted moments where there was something that, like that 11-inch charge that you ripped, or was there any really epic moments?
Been a few. I think everything in the last game was pretty full on.
Yeah.
Funnest game I reckon would have been the Art of War round. Into Brian Jones.
Yeah.
It was the score obviously blew out at the back end, but like the first 2 turns was really tight, and some pretty cool plays where in combat. So like I've charged in, he's charged. I have no idea what the units are called. But like they're new melee guys. Hit me in combat. On my turn, I've overcharged all my plasma pistols. Killed the guy out because they're hazardous, and I've been able to then charge back into him.
Nice. That's actually brilliant. I like that.
The other thing was, I think the biggest, or like the best thing my end that I pulled off in that game is, he's come up, shot my unit. So I've attached the exalted, the slaughterbound to the unit of exalted that game.
Yep.
To allow the damage output to push through the forts. And pushed up, killed one, able to res behind my unit, walk backwards in such a way that I can't base him on the charge. It's really hard to explain it properly without models.
Yeah.
So I've charged in, been able to fight the transport behind the crate within an inch, not missing, and then with the slaughterbound popping off, and then pop console 6 back behind the crate to get closer to the objective marker. I've effectively been able to walk forward, kill his unit for free, so back behind the objective marker where he thought I couldn't. Was like pretty pivotal for the game because it means that I go forward, I kill it, the land forts can't shoot me, he can't charge me, and I get the primary again next turn.
Yeah, I find that 6-inch pylon and consolidate in the hands of a true expert is the most broken rule, especially when it applies to your whole army. It's cooked. It's so cooked. And I see a lot of people that either they don't fully understand the way that the pylon and consolidate works, so they kind of just clump everything. They just go, cool, I'm just going to consolidate, and they just clump everything in. Or they just don't see those opportunities to, like, if I position myself like this, I actually can compile in that way. And, like, the amount of things that you can do with it is truly, truly insane. And it sounds like you were well-versed in those dark arts.
I got, like, someone like Alex Terrason up here who's just a monster at the fight phase to sort of lean on a bit with that. Just helped a lot. But I found that sort of over there a lot, it was more taking my time with it, just stopping, slowing it down, explaining to my opponent what I was going to do or what I was attempting to do.
Yeah.
Making sure they understood what I was doing. And if any stage through that process they were unsure, they were confused in what I was trying to achieve, stop. Clock obviously is on me.
Yep.
The judge ever kind of explain, hey, this is what's happening. And then the judge then sort of run them through how that works. It only came up once at the event, but it's just kind of important, I find, during that, because it's a bit of a messy step. Not everyone understands. It's like taking your time with it, making sure your opponent's clear at sort of what you're trying to achieve. And if they're on board with it, then you can proceed. And if not, obviously get someone in, get a coach over, get a judge over.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Yeah, I find more often than not, when you position the models and you explain to your opponent, okay, I can pile in 6 inches, I have to do this, this, and this, so this guy's going to be able to go around here. And as soon as your opponent goes, yeah, cool, then you can almost afford to be a little bit sloppy with it at that point, because they understand what you are trying to do and that you can do it. You understand what you're trying to do and you can do it. So then you just kind of move the models. Whereas if you're playing against somebody who doesn't fully understand, it can really slow it down, because you have to go, okay, this guy's going to move this way, then that, and now this.
Which definitely happened.
That does happen, and it's well within their right. But it's definitely one of those polarizing rules. The disparity of output between people who know how it works and people who don't, both when you're on the receiving end of it and being able to deliver it as well, is pretty wild.
Especially when it comes to, like, I guess the charge phase with it. So people like measure sort of straight lines, like you move 8 advanced charge. And it's like, yeah, man, like I do, but like I'll push my unit, like I'll string my unit out to the right, or like I'll push out wide, and I'll charge your unit. I'll sling across pile 6, and the next thing you know, I'm touching the unit on the other side of the table.
Yeah,
my threat range isn't kind of linear. It spreads pretty far.
Yeah,
having just allowing your opponent, letting them know that that's sort of like what you can do, the threat that you can push at them. Otherwise, they just ignore it, and then it kind of feels bad if your unit kind of moves 18 inches the other side of the table where they thought you couldn't get.
You know, it's one of those cases like we were saying earlier, where like, sometimes during your movement phase, you're moving away from the thing that you're planning to charge, and they give you this kind of
Yeah,
confused, like, "What are you doing, you idiot?" And you're like, "Nah, trust me. Here's what I'm going to do." And then you start to, and then they have this, "Ah, I fucked up" look on their face when they
yeah,
realize, "Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
The
gonna
penny drops.
charge
Oh,
that rhino all the way over there. I'm gonna charge that wave serpent over there, and I'm gonna pile in to your banshees and fight them." And kill them without your fights first activating, and they're like, "Oh no!"
yeah. If that happens, it gets real bad real fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
like they can like they find themselves in a lot of hurt.
yeah,
Like 3 Zerkers will kill 10 Banshee or get close to killing a whole unit of Elder, anything.
yeah, yeah. Hell yeah. So World Eaters, is this something? I know you said that you played Chaos Space Marine Renegade Raiders prior. I know that's what you played at the ANZTC, so it's obviously you're a Chaos boy, true and true. Would you say that you're going to play the World Eaters going forward, or are you more faction fluid and you sort of jump around a bit?
Yeah, I usually tend to jump around a fair bit.
Okay. Yep.
But past, I guess, year and a half, I've played nothing but Eaters for the past, say, couple months. And then previously, like you said, the Accursed. Um, I'll probably stick with it, man. The army's pretty cooked. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's brutal to play into, and it's a lot of fun to play. So like, I can't see myself changing. We'll see what happens January with the data slate.
Yep.
Hopefully they don't touch my beloved Zerks in
Yeah.
points. They don't need it. But yeah, if not, man, I'll keep playing it until something better comes along, or let's get bored of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it's one of those armies that, especially the 20-man bricks, like I've only played a handful of games with them, but the 20-man bricks is one of those things that's really rewarding because you're able to pull off things that seem outside of the scope of the unit because you're using actual rules, not just data sheet abilities. You're not just going, this thing's got a really savage gun and I shoot things well. You're going, no, this has interactions with core mechanics of the game that I'm able to utilize to achieve things that it's not what it says on the tin. And I find that deeply rewarding. So it sounds like you did as well. So what about obviously this was a teams event and this list was designed for teams. Would you run something similar in a singles event, or do you think that the World Leaders needs to pivot away from the 20-mans in the singles environment?
I think it depends on the tables, right? Like, so WTC tables, they can play, I think, almost anything. On GW terrain, that's an issue, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to hide 40. You get table 6, which is pretty awful. You get that on like the on deployment, and it's a bit difficult. Um, I would probably run the same list though. Like, if I was going to say WCW, if I had known that LVO, like I didn't know LVO was on the week after the event. I thought it was still in January. I just slipped my mind.
Yeah.
If I had known, I would have copy pasted the list in and gone.
Yeah.
I think it's good enough by singles. It's got maybe 2 games it doesn't want, and everything else is kind of either bulldozers or it's like in a singles environment you're going to get that 1 point win.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine. Maybe
Yeah.
you drop a 20, some chaff in, put 10 in, but like I wouldn't see why you touch it.
Yeah, I agree, and I find that even in the matchups where you get one of those tables that is not so favorable, there's every chance that you get paired into like another combat army on that table, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter that you got a rough table. So, in order for it to be a problem, you need to verse a problem list on a problem table, which is, I mean, yes, it can happen, and it'd be devastating if it does, but it's not super likely to happen to the point where you should be comfortable playing it anyway. So. I think it works in a lot, because one of the things that a lot of people criticize is I do a lot of coverage of teams events because I think it's the vastly superior way to play 40k. But a lot of people that they want to play singles events and they're like, well, that's a teams list. And I kind of reject that mentality. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it can be true. And there's certain things you can do to optimize a list for teams. But I think generally speaking, most people, if they take their teams list to a single event, they're probably still going to win. Like, if you were going to win with a singles list, you probably still win with your teams list. Outside of some few, sort of niche examples.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see that to a degree, right? I think it's hard because, for instance, like let's say I took my Zerk list to a singles event. I take it anyway because I love it. I think it's very good. If I catch an equal skill player on an average or a bad matchup, there's every chance that I'll lose that, and then my event's over.
Yes.
That's why I find in singles you'll see guys take like the good stuff lists or the things that can play a wider range or have like I guess their bad matchups get a little bit better, or like they're not gonna get big wins or get like eke out that 1 point win.
Yeah. Well, I guess it
like,
depends on what your objective is as well, and this is another thing that I think people sort of they fail when they're deciding what list they want to take. If your objective is to win the event, right, come first overall, then yes, you need to write a list that can tackle anything. But for the vast majority of people, that shouldn't be their goal, because you're optimizing for something that you're very unlikely to achieve. You're better off optimizing for a realistic goal, like going 4-1, but getting big wins. And if you go 4-1 and get big wins, guess what? You just found yourself on the podium. So taking a teams list like this, you go, okay, cool. I'm not going to win every game. At some point, I'm going to get a matchup that's unfavorable on an unfavorable table, and I'm going to lose that matchup. But the 4 games that I do win, I'm going to destroy, and that's going to potentially put me up on that podium. Depending on the pairings metrics of the event itself.
Man,
it varies heavily.
Right?
But
that annoys me is like it's completely random. You could just randomly slap. You get someone that gets the golden run.
Yeah.
Play down or play them, and then you get someone that plays like 6 of the best players in the world or something. And it's like, singles is just
yeah, it can be quite frustrating. And then, so what about your plans going forward? Have you got any upcoming events or anything like that you're looking forward to? Is there anything that we can be watching to sort of track your progress if people are interested?
I guess the only thing for the rest of the year would be there's a 8-man team in Penrith in November.
Yep.
I'll be going down to that. I think Scotty should probably be streaming that. Hopefully I get on there, which would be awesome. But man, outside of that, I'm probably just going to lay low for the rest of the year. Just take a bit of time to decompress after a lot of prep. Obviously, prep through ATC this year, and then push for challenges. So I just want to the time to just enjoy the hobby a bit, decompress, and then next year, obviously there's a few. We run obviously the Gladiator Gaming event every other month, starting in January. About 160 people, usually for those. It's 6-man teams. So, so those, and then I'll obviously put my hand up for Team Queensland if I get picked next year.
Yep.
And then looking at how things go, I'll probably end up applying for Team Australia as well. And we'll just see how that goes as well. So hopefully, if possible, I make both those teams. It would be awesome. Man. So hopefully it's a good year next year.
Well, hopefully you make it on Team Oz, because it'd be great to see you over there. I mean, the WTC itself is a completely different beast, and I always get excited when new faces get involved in that process. That's always really good to see, especially if there's a chance that they're going to represent World Leaders. Obviously, it's a long way away. It's looking like WTC this year is probably going to be a new edition as well.
It probably will be, right?
At which point all bets are off, right? Like they could completely change things. World Leaders might be rubbish again. Who knows?
Let's hope not.
But who knows? So thanks heaps for your time, mate. Is there anything you want to talk about before we wrap it up? Because I think we've covered most of the questions that I had, but happy to chat if you've got something you want to bring up.
That's pretty much sweet, man.
Yeah, awesome.
You have me on.
No problems, mate. All right. Well, we'll see you around. I wish you best of luck at that Penrith teams event. I know that a few of my mates are heading up there for a team, so hopefully they give you a run for your money. And it'll be good to see potentially at ANZTC as well. So, thanks for your time, mate, and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good shit. You know what to do. And also head over to www.exalted40k.com where you can pick up some merchandise to show your support for the channel. We've got t-shirts now, we've got dice available, we've got all kinds of goodies on there. If you want to show your support and pick up some sweet swag on the way, that's the place to do it. And with that being said, we're going to leave it here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.